Part 25. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 244. The relationship between them was originally a cooperative relationship, and there was no strict superior-subordinate relationship. Ling Guanru needed the support of these gangs, so he tried his best to win over these gang leaders and was extremely tolerant of them. Ling Guanru was still a little angry at first, but Niwu lost more than 10 of his guards this time. You know, his total number of guards is only 1,000, and every one of them is very precious. But at this time, Niwu claimed to be in a humble position, which made Ling Guanru happy. Although he lost this battle, he gained Niwu's superficial support, which has to be said to be a great joy. Ling Guanru naturally likes rare talents like Niwu. Commander Ni, please get up quickly. Victory or defeat is a normal matter for military officers. Don't worry about it. Ling Guanru walked over quickly and helped Niwu up. I have heard a little bit about this Wang Shuo. He is a ruthless character. The person who can win the first place in Changping County is naturally not easy to conquer. We can conquer the other lords around Nanshanji first. There is no rush in this matter. Ling Guanru was relieved and the two discussed for a long time before Niwu left calmly. When he reached the door, Niwu's expression changed and his eyes were cold. Humph, are you worthy of my allegiance? It turned out that he was just pretending to submit to Ling Guanru to avoid being deprived of his military power. After Wang Shuo captured a large number of people from Iron Sword sect, he was not too happy. Because most of these people are unwilling to surrender. They still have the illusion that their sect leader Niwu will definitely come to save them. Among these 3,000 people, there are at least more than 1,000 people who have such thoughts. Wang Shuo did not want to execute them immediately. After all, they were only temporarily bewitched by Niwu. Wang Shuo ordered people to expand the prison and imprison them all. When they arrived at the prison, Wang Shuo made a special effort to have a friendly and cordial conversation with Good. After many days of persuasion, Good finally relented and agreed that as long as Wang Shuo could defeat him, he would join Wana village. After hearing the news, Wang Shuo's face lit up with joy. It can be said that his strength has increased very quickly. It seems that the time to get another strong general will not be too short. Although Niwu came to attack Wang Shuo was not impulsive and immediately raised his troops to attack Nanshanji. At this time, the time is not yet ripe. In the next few days, Wang Shuo handed over the 2,000 surrendered people to Bailey Liang in compliance with everyone's wishes. Those who were willing to join the military were handed over to Bailey Liang. Those who were unwilling were made to become ordinary citizens. In the end, more than 1,600 people joined the army. Drawing on the experience of fighting the horse bandits last time, Wang Shuo decided to build a new spear battalion and cooperate with the shield soldiers to form a solid military formation to fight against the opponent's cavalry troops. At the same time, vigorously expand the cavalry force, which is the ace force of Wana village. Under the influence of the Loyal Soul Hall, more and more warriors have reached full loyalty. Wang Shuo was very pleased. Wang Shuo gave Ayub the responsibility for military-related matters. He focused his main energy on making necromancy beads and practicing the Black Dragon Sutra. Before attacking Nanshanji, it is best to practice the Black Dragon Sutra for the first time, so that the combat effectiveness will be greatly improved. The days pass quietly while everyone is busy. On this day, Wang Shuo finally reached the first level of practicing the Black Dragon Sutra. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 246. Good, you can't use your sunset bow in this competition, do you have any objection? Wang Shuo came to the cell door and said with a smile. Seeing Wang Shuo coming again, Good stood up from the haystack and glanced at Wang Shuo contemptuously. Can I have an opinion? He wanted to say something. Then he frowned and looked confused. After not seeing each other for a few days, how could this boy's strength increase so quickly? Good felt something in his heart and did not dare to neglect it. Just give me an ordinary weapon, Good said lightly. In a close quarters competition, bows and arrows are indeed not very useful. In addition to bows and arrows, Good can barely use other weapons. Good. Wang Shuo invited Good to the school grounds. The only people present were Gong Zheng and Ayub. This is also just in case. What weapon do you want to use? Wang Shuo unlocked the shackles on Good's hands and feet and smiled at him. You used a gun, so I'll use a gun too. So, the two men held long guns and faced off 20 meters away. Both of them held their breath, moved lightly, and adjusted their best offensive posture. Suddenly, Wang Shuo took the lead. The spear was like a winding spiritual snake, spinning in the air and heading straight towards the door facing Gu. Good was not to be outdone. Without any expression on his face, he held his spear and ran towards Wang Shuo, the tip of the spear dragging a long mark on the ground. In the blink of an eye, he arrived first, and his sophisticated spear swiped at Wang Shuo's flame spear from the side. Bang! The sound of the collision of gold and iron sounded. Wang Shuo's spear tilted, but he did not panic. After all, Wang Shuo had experienced a lot of battles. He then followed the direction in which the spear swung, and turned. After one rotation, the spear swept towards Good again. The blow was so powerful that Good had no choice but to stand up his spear to block it. After a simple probing attack, Wang Shuo grinned, I'm going to start exerting my strength. Come here, if you have any tricks, I'll do it. Good also held the gun with both hands and swung the flame gun away again. It can be seen that Good played very conservatively and was far less liberal than Wang Shuo. On the one hand, it was because he was not good at using spears, and on the other hand, as a prisoner, he was still somewhat intimidated. Wang Shuo's face straightened up and he immediately launched a combo of attacks. First came iron rope binding, then fire breath, plus dragon transformation blow. For these three skills, Wang Shuo has added internal strength to maximize the damage. After receiving this blow, Good's expression changed drastically. He never thought that a mere little lord of level 31 could actually cause so much harm to him. His entire body was knocked away and he fell to the ground, with his health points reduced by nearly half. A surge of energy and blood surged up, his mouth felt sweet, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. Good's intestines are filled with regret. If he had known better, he wouldn't have pretended to be so big. He swallowed back the blood that had not yet spewed out of his throat, quickly got up, and took a defensive posture. Seeing this situation, Ayub felt even more troubled. Is this still the Lord he knows? Ayub couldn't believe his eyes. But Gong Zheng's eyes lit up and he became happy for Wang Shuo. Gong Zheng had a simple mind. The stronger the Lord, the happier he would be. At the same time, Good no longer dared to rely on others and dealt with it seriously. Although several of his skills require the use of bows and arrows to exert their maximum power. But at any rate, internal strength can still be used on the spear, and at the same time, the eagle eye skill can still see clearly the opponent's moves. He quickly used his skills and poured his internal energy into the spear. The two fought together again. Wang Shuo also felt the true strength of a senior general at this time. Dang, dang. The two spears collided together again, causing Wang Shuo's jaw to hurt. The opponent's strength was far superior to Wang Shuo's. If Wang Shuo didn't have the equipment bonus, he would have been defeated long ago. As time passed, Wang Shuo's skills could finally be used again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 247. At this stage, almost no one is immune to control skills, and once controlled, they can only take the opponent's skills head-on. This is also the reason why Wang Shuo hates bosses with control skills the most. Launch Iron Chain Binding again, followed by Dragon Strike. Wang Shuo did not use Flame Breath this time, he was afraid that a combo would kill Good in seconds. Even so, Good only had a few hundred points of health left. Thank you. The winner has been decided. Although Good is unwilling, he is not someone who can't afford to lose. Thank you, Lord, for mercy. At this time, the system prompt sounded. High-level General Good joins Wana village. Wang Shuo was overjoyed when he heard the prompt. As expected, he is a high-level general and even sent a system prompt. Please get up quickly. Seeing Good bowing, Wang Shuo quickly put away his weapon and helped him up. He looked eager to find talents. At the same time, Wang Shuo also took out a drop of water of life and gave it to Good. Good, from now on, we are a family. This drop of water of life can help you recover quickly. You can't blame me for being too heavy-handed just now, Wang Shuo said apologetically. I dare not. Lord, don't mind. We are just competing and learning. Swords have no eyes. I can only blame myself for my inferior skills, Good laughed bitterly. Wang Shuo was ashamed after hearing this. If the opponent had no equipment bonus and no suitable weapons, how could he defeat a senior general head-on? Good, I plan to appoint you as the leader of the archers. What do you think? As long as the Lord orders, I will definitely live up to the Lord's trust. Okay, haha. Gong Zheng and the other person on the side also laughed. In the evening, Wang Shuo held a banquet in the Lord's mansion, one to celebrate the joining of the senior general Good, and the other to connect with the feelings of the high-level officials of the territory. Yan Fuja, how is the recent construction of the city wall going? Yan Fuja quickly swallowed the chicken in his mouth, stood up, and replied, My lord, it will be completed in 2 days. The number of craftsmen has increased a lot recently, and the proficiency of the old craftsmen has also been improved, so the construction speed has increased a lot. Yan Fuja was still a little nervous. He was fortunate to attend such a high-level banquet, which showed that the Lord still valued him very much. As long as he can do his job well, he will sooner or later become a core member of Wana village. Wang Shuo nodded with satisfaction, raised his glass, and toasted him. Yan Fuja was flattered and quickly raised his glass and drank it all. Also, Wu Dong from the blacksmith shop, Lu Fei from the clinic, Yan Yu from the tailor shop and others attended the banquet. All the leaders of important positions in Wana village were invited to the banquet. Wang Shuo asked about the situation one by one and knew what was going on. After the banquet, Wang Shuo called Duan Wengzi, Zhou Yuanjia, Good, and Ayub to the side hall. At this time, Xiaolin, the maid Duan Wengzi chose for Wang Shuo, brought fruit tea. I want to keep you guys here to discuss the future development of our Wana village. Several people looked at Wang Shuo with different expressions on their faces. It is imperative to use troops against Nanshan Group. But the current strength of Nanshan Group far exceeds that of our Wana village. Do you have any suggestions? Good frowned, thinking that he had just joined Wana village and had not yet established a firm foothold. If he did not perform well, wouldn't his colleagues look down on him? Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Qi Wen. Chapter 248. So, he stood up and bowed, saying, Lord, as far as I know, there are quite a few guards in Nanshanji, more than 1,000 of them. If we attack by force, even if we can break into the city wall, we will probably suffer heavy losses. I think we should make full use of our cavalry advantage to lure the enemy out of the city and start a field battle. When Wang Shuo heard this, he agreed with what Good said, but he still wanted to hear what others thought. Does the military advisor have any good ideas? Zhou Wenjia was shocked. This is his job to make plans. He pondered for a while, waved his feather fan, and said slowly, "Lord, the enemy is numerous and we are few. Although our soldiers are well trained, Nanshanji has thousands of elite soldiers, whose level is almost twice as high. In terms of strength, we are still one step behind. Moreover, Nanshanji has tens of thousands of gang members. They may become our enemies when we attack Nanshanji. I think we can alienate these gang forces and make them work for me. At the critical moment, we can turn against them and greatly increase our chances of winning." Wang Shuo's eyes lit up. "This plan is very good. Yuanjia, your idea is very good. Tell me in detail." "Lord, most of these gang members are like mothers who feed them. As long as we promise them enough benefits, many people will be tempted. Kung Fu, equipment, even the ancient battlefield dungeon are all bargaining chips in our hands." Wang Shuo heard this and thought about it. He originally planned to open the ancient battlefield dungeon to players. A place where you can spawn monsters infinitely is very tempting for players who want to upgrade their levels. Moreover, your own resource exchange place can also be open to players. As long as the authority to exchange strategic resources is closed, there will be no problem. At the same time, the more resources you exchange, the more you can promote the upgrade of resource exchange stones, which is killing two birds with one stone. Everyone talked to each other, the atmosphere was quite lively, and one strategy after another was proposed and gradually improved by everyone. It was not until late at night that Wang Shuo asked everyone to go back to rest. Lying on the bed, Wang Shuo thought that he seemed to have a think tank. "Chang Gui, what do you think of the strategy we discussed today?" "Lord, I think our pattern should be bigger, and the allies we contact are not limited to Nanshanji. There are many oppressed lords near Nanshanji, and they are also the power we can unite." Wang Shuo sat up suddenly, and his face instantly became exciting. "Yes, why didn't I think of it? This is a huge force, and it will be stronger than the gangs in Nanshanji. Moreover, it is more difficult to unite them than to unite with gang forces. They are essentially hostile forces to Nanshanji. When the Undead Legion revives, fighting alone will inevitably lead to death. They must form an alliance to fight against the overwhelming undead." Thinking of this, Wang Shuo was so excited that he couldn't sleep. Countless ideas in his mind were like a flash flood, which was out of control. The next morning, Wang Shuo handed over the matter of inciting the local gangs of Nanshanji to Zhou Yuanjia. The two discussed the conditions that could be promised to those gangs, and gave him some resources. And Wang Shuo opened the village leader group. In recent days, the group has been discussing the oppression of them by the system towns. Some territories were even directly incorporated by nearby towns, making the major lords miserable. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Qi Wen. Chapter 249. Wang Shuo found a dozen lords near Nanshanji. These 2 days, they were also dealing with the tax collectors sent by Nanshanji. Wang Shuo added these lords individually, and then invited them to Wana village to discuss matters under the pretext of dealing with the resurrection of the undead, and also revealed that there was a way to deal with the undead army. Most of these lords showed great interest. As the number one in Changping County, many lords wanted to meet this big guy and learn from him. Of course, some of them sneered and were unwilling to pay attention to Wang Shuo. In this regard, Wang Shuo could only say that these lords may have missed a great opportunity. 2 days later, lords arrived one after another. After seeing the tall walls of Wana village, they were all shocked. Wang Shuo warmly entertained them in the lord's mansion. Wine, fruits, roasted whole lamb, and many foods that the lords could not eat at ordinary times were filled on the table, one for each person. The guests and hosts sat down. The guests who came this time included Luz Haiming from Jiaotang village, Wang Haijing from Sangsha village, Wen Yufan from Milan village, Su Pinggui from Xingxiang village, and Lin Xian from Luxi village. It can be regarded as a well-developed village near Nanshanji. Everyone, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come to my territory to discuss how to deal with the undead. Lord Wang is very polite. Thank you for inviting me. You think highly of us. Someone said politely. Okay, I won't keep you in suspense. The resurrection of the undead can be said to be the next big thing. I have a prop that can specifically restrain the undead. Immediately, soldiers handed out the dead spirit beads to the lords who came to the meeting. Everyone, this bead is called the dead spirit bead. It can absorb the dead air emitted by the undead, so as to prevent us from being infected by the dead air and being transformed into undead. Lord, I am not talented, but I have also been to the ancient battlefield, but I have not been transformed into an undead, a lord immediately said. Wang Shuo glanced at this person, who seemed to be Wen Yufan from Milan village. Lord Wen, please forgive me for being blunt, but the undead in the ancient battlefield and the undead revived this time are fundamentally different. This thing will definitely be able to save your life when the time comes. At this time, some people were skeptical, and more people had no reaction, which clearly showed that they did not believe it. Wang Shuo was also very helpless. If you don't believe it, forget it. When the time comes, you will beg me. Lord Wang, you asked us to come here just to promote this dead soul bead, didn't you? Wang Shuo looked around at everyone, then slowly said, of course, it will take some time for the dead souls to revive. Right now we have a more difficult problem, that is the threat of Nanshan Market. Su Pingwei from Xingxiang village said decisively, speaking of Nanshan Market, I get angry. Last time Zuch Kui came with a large army, he directly took 80,000 gold coins from me. It was really too much. That's right, 60,000 gold coins were taken away from me. Everyone complained about their experiences. Wang Shuo saw that everyone's anger had been ignited, and he also echoed, to be honest, I was also blackmailed for 10,000 energy crystals last time. Hearing Wang Shuo say this, everyone was silent. Even the number one in Changping County was forced to pay protection fees, what else can they do? After a while, someone else said, as far as I know, it seems that there are some lords whose territories have been confiscated and have become refugees from then on. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 250. You're right. After the system towns have owners, they are naturally opposed to us, so I plan to form an alliance with everyone to fight against Nanshanji and resist their oppression. Okay, I'm the first to agree. Isn't it just fighting with them? In this place, fighting is as frequent as eating and drinking. It's no big deal. Directly fight against Nanshanji. But the opponent's strength is ridiculously strong. I can't even compete with a team of 100 people on the other side. Everyone, if we don't resist, we will only be gradually eroded by them in the end, and finally be annexed. If we rise up to resist, we may still have a glimmer of hope. Well said, I am willing to join this alliance. I will join too. Since there is an alliance, it is natural to elect a leader, and there must be a name. At this point, several lords present had their eyes shining, and they all showed great interest in the position of the leader. But they also knew that Wang Shuo was the most powerful competitor for the leader. Let's decide on the name of the alliance first, Wang Shuo smiled and said calmly. Since we are determined to resist Nanshan Group, why not call it Nanshan Club? Someone suggested at this time. Wang Shuo didn't care about the name of this alliance. He just wanted to organize these people and contain part of the strength of Nanshan Group. I think the name Nanshan Club is not bad. Wang Shuo nodded with a smile. Then the next step is to elect the leader. The position of the leader, of course, is Lord Wang. I think the leader can't just rely on strength, it depends on whether he can win enough benefits for everyone. I think XXX can also be the leader. Wang Shuo saw this group of people chattering non-stop, and for a while he was a little doubtful whether Nanshan would become a mob. Seeing everyone quarreling, Wang Shuo cleared his throat and said calmly, since our Nanshan club was established to resist Nanshan club's Lin Guanru, why don't whoever is willing to stand up first to resist Nanshan club become the leader? Wang Shuo must fight Nanshan club. In order to get the heart of the town, he must fight Nanshan club head-on. If someone is willing to take the initiative to attract firepower, it doesn't matter if he doesn't become the leader. As soon as Wang Shuo finished speaking, the people who were still shouting loudly just now stopped talking. The first bird to come out will be shot, and they don't have the courage. Wang Shuo smiled and said leisurely, everyone, there must be someone who stands up and directly resists the oppression of Nanshan Club. If no one here is willing to take up this banner, let me do it. Wang Shuo's words were full of sadness, as if being the leader was not a good thing, but a helpless act of life and death. Lord Wang is righteous, someone immediately gave a thumbs up. Of course, anyone with a discerning eye can see that this guy is just flattering. However, at this time, someone made his position clear, which was naturally quite good for Wang Shuo. I agree that Lord Wang should be the leader of the alliance. Finally, many people began to agree. A few people were silent, but they did not object. Well, thank you all for your kindness, I will not refuse the position of leader of the alliance. Wang Shuo nodded with satisfaction. The direction of this alliance was within his plan. Afterwards, he sat in the main seat, showing a firm look, and said loudly, since you have recognized me as the leader of the alliance, I must also express my opinion. In 3 days, I will lead the army of Wana village to attack Nanshanji. At that time, I hope you can act together with me. Wang Shuo's words were shocking, and the more than 10 lords present were trembling in their hearts. It's really bold. Lord Survival, my shelter in Crocodile territory. Author, Qi Wen. Chapter 251. As soon as Wang Shuo finished speaking, a lord worriedly said, Lord Wang, our territory is weak and I am afraid we are not qualified to confront Nanshan group head-on. Wang Shuo saw that someone else wanted to speak, so he immediately interrupted and said, don't worry, everyone, you only need to support this operation, I will take on the task of confronting head-on. In this way, other lords can no longer find excuses to shirk. If you are not willing to support such a small thing, then why set up Nanshan group? Just stay in the territory and wait for death. Afterwards, Wang Shuo told everyone his plan, and everyone looked at each other in surprise. As long as everyone is willing to send troops and jointly besiege Nanshan group, you can go to Wana village to buy various supplies. Wang Shuo handed the list he had prepared to the lords. Many of these lords do not have a complete industrial system. Some are rich in iron or resources, and some are rich in grain. Wang Shuo's move also intends to build Wana village into a trade center. The supplies provided by Wang Shuo also include supplies such as war horses, which made many lords very envious. In addition, there are a large number of sophisticated equipment and qualifications to enter the dungeon. Under various preferential policies, many lords have been tempted. Wang Shuo's request is just to send his elite troops to besiege from the side when Wang Shuo and Nanshanji's army are fighting, so that Nanshanji has to divide a part of the army to deal with them. Of course, if you want to obtain the most core resources such as war horses and weapons, you have to send a part of the army under Wang Shuo's command to participate in the main attack. Wang Shuo left a day for everyone to consider. After the meeting, Wang Shuo held a grand military parade. Let the Lord see the military strength of Wana village. Wang Shuo took everyone to the resource exchange office first and let everyone see the materials that can be exchanged. After a long period of exchange, the resource exchange stone was finally upgraded to level 2. The materials that can be exchanged have increased a lot, including horse cards, life potions, mental potions, and even food and various sophisticated equipment. It's just that the quantity of each material is not unlimited, and the price is expensive. The most useful things here for Wang Shuo are only tools. Wang Shuo doesn't care about other resources, but for other lords, they are real good things. For example, food. If your territory is short of food, it's good to get food. How can you complain about it being expensive? In special times, the price increases by more than 10 or 20 times. It's common. Wang Shuo once had the honor to buy Shanghai green vegetables, 450 yuan per caddy. After opening the eyes of the lords, Wang Shuo asked everyone to stand on the platform. Ayub led the Red Flame Army and passed through the central square one by one. Neat military appearance, uniform equipment, and more importantly, level. After more than a week of training, the level of the Red Flame Army has generally increased to about level 30. Seeing this result, Wang Shuo was also a little surprised, because he was only about level 31. Since the destruction of Pegasus Village, Wang Shuo has not leveled up, and even many of his generals have surpassed him. During this period, Wang Shuo has been making dead spirit beads and practicing internal strength. Internal strength can enhance combat power more than level, so it is worth it. Without the Black Dragon Sutra, Wang Shuo would never have been able to defeat Good. At this time, Wang Shuo noticed that the levels of the lords on the stage were all around level 30. The highest one was the Xingxiang village lord Su Pingwei, who was already level 34, which shocked Wang Shuo. Compared with Wang Shuo's shock, the other lords could not be described as shocked. They were in a state of turmoil at the moment. The entire army of nearly 4,000 people was all around level 30. This force was simply a bit despairing. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Qi Wen. Chapter 252. Seeing the stiff expressions on their faces, Wang Shuo was very satisfied. This move was to make them realize that Wana village was still very powerful and could compete with Nanshan group, giving them some confidence. This time, Wang Shuo did not bring out catapults and crossbows, although as an ally, he still had to keep some cards. Finally, Wang Shuo took everyone to visit Wana village's copy, the ancient battlefield. It can be said that the copy of Wang Shuo's territory is the only copy in Changping County that is controlled by players, which also gave everyone a great shock. They thought that this copy was only in Wana village, but they didn't expect that Wang Shuo could adjust the data in this copy. So far, several lords have made up their minds and want to follow Wang Shuo. Wang Shuo accompanied a group of lords to visit many places in Wana village and discussed with each other about the experience of building a territory. Until the evening, everyone left one by one. Most of the lords said they would respond to Wang Shuo's call, and they would prepare for related matters when they returned. Some of them only sent important personnel from the territory, and the lords themselves did not come. They said that they would go back to discuss before making a decision. Wang Shuo also expressed his understanding. The next morning, after breakfast, Wang Shuo summoned Hadro again. The more strategic materials, the better. This time, Hadro prepared a large number of war weapons. Thunderbolt causes 1,000 points of damage to enemies within 5 square meters, and 500 points of damage to enemies within 10 square meters. This is an upgraded version of Thunderbolt, which is extremely powerful and can be attached to arrows and fired. Good stuff. 200 gold coins each, although a little expensive, but the effect is also beyond words. Wang Shuo directly bought all 10,000 pieces that Hadro brought. In addition, there are a large number of talismans, defense talismans, and attack talismans. Wang Shuo did not think it was too much and bought 2,000 of each. Hadro had prepared many weapons this time, but Wang Shuo did not buy them after seeing them. After all, the weapons and armors in Wana village were better than the fine ones, and the gold equipment could reach the point of mass production. Seeing this, Hadro also understood that Wangshuo's territory had developed quite well, and ordinary things were already difficult to satisfy. So, he took out a blueprint. Warhorse armor manufacturing blueprint. Wangshuo's eyes lit up. This was the good thing that Wangshuo had always wanted. Only cavalry equipped with warhorse armor can be truly called heavy cavalry. This blueprint was not expensive, and it only cost 500 energy crystals to exchange it. The two had a brief conversation for a while, discussed the types of materials that needed to be purchased in the future, and Hadro turned and left. Not long after, the system prompt was heard again. The construction of the territory wall is completed. Wangshuo was delighted and hurried to the new wall. This time the wall was taller and wider, with a total length of nearly 20 kilometers. At the 4 city gates, a barbican was also built. The specifications are higher than the city wall being built in Nanshanji. The defense capability of Wana village has been upgraded to a higher level. Wangshuo found Bailey Liang and communicated with him about the arrangements and deployment of the city defense army. The safety of Wana village must be foolproof during this expedition. If someone steals the hometown, Wangshuo will regret it. The current city defense army is almost 1,000 people, and it is still a bit stressful to defend such a long city wall. Wangshuo specially asked the crossbow battalion to allocate 100 people to assist in defense. At the same time, the craftsman battalion was also asked to build a large number of intermediate arrow towers near the city wall. In this way, even if the Xian army is not in the territory, Wana village should be able to hold on for a long time. This is the case when the enemy attacking the city has heavy weapons. If there is no siege equipment, I am afraid that they can't even climb the city wall. After all, the height of the new city wall has reached 12 meters. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 253. After returning to the Lord's mansion, other lords sent people to exchange supplies. Some lords also sent out some 100-man teams to temporarily join Wangshuo's army. This was what they agreed yesterday. In order to prevent Wangshuo from using these soldiers as cannon fodder, Wangshuo had to pay a high pension for each death. Wangshuo had no objection to this, just treating them as mercenaries. 2 days later, everything was ready. The number of flaming war horses was insufficient to supply the Golden Fire cavalry, which made Wangshuo a little regretful. If some cavalry were allowed to ride on flaming war horses, the speed of the cavalry would inevitably be out of sync, which would affect their combat effectiveness. At the same time, the number of warhorse armor was not enough. After Wangshuo and Ayub discussed it, they also had no equipment. Wangshuo gathered 6,000 troops for this expedition. Among them, there were 4,300 people in the Red Flame Army, and the remaining 1,700 people were the 100-man battalions sent by each of the 13 lords. Some lords directly sent 200 to 300 people, which was very respectful to Wangshuo. Wangshuo incorporated them into the Alliance Army, which was considered a ragtag army. Among them, Ayub's direct Golden Fire cavalry had 800 people, Good's archer cavalry had 500 people, Gong Zheng's shield soldiers had 500 people, Gong Ping's Black Mountain bandits had 500 people, Gong Kai's archers had 500 people, Li Jiangguo's crossbow artillery soldiers had 500 people, Li Weiguo's sword guards had 500 people, and Li Baoqiu's spear soldiers had 500 people. Seeing the mighty army on the square, Wangshuo was shocked. After a simple morale boost, the army set out and headed towards Nanshanji. Because there were more infantry, the marching speed was not fast. Nanshanji got the news soon. After hearing the news, Ling Guanru was quite surprised. He didn't expect that someone would dare to attack him. Although he didn't think that a small village could capture his Nanshanji, it was a serious contempt for his authority. If he couldn't defeat it cleanly this time, he would definitely become a joke in the eyes of the city lords and mayors. Immediately call the leaders of each gang to come to discuss, Ling Guanru said loudly to the leader Wuduk beside him. Soon, Niwu, Zujqui, Uji, Lojal and others came to the lord's mansion. The reason why Lojal was qualified to sit here was because he established a Blood Axe mercenary group in Nanshanji, which had a very rapid development momentum and had become one of the top 10 gangs in Nanshanji, and even broke out the title of Blood Axe Lojal. Everyone, I just got the news that Wangshuo, the lord of Wana village, actually organized an army and wanted to attack our Nanshan village. What do you think? Niwu took the lead and said, Mr. Town Mayor, I am willing to be the vanguard and defeat the invading enemy. Niwu actually knew that Wangshuo would come to attack Nanshan village. There was a traitor among the lords who went to the alliance, but Niwu did not tell Ling Guanru about this news. This is a rare opportunity. As long as Wangshuo and Ling Guanru both lose, he can reap the benefits. Commander Ni is thoughtful. Do other gang leaders have any ideas? I am willing to follow the arrangements of the town mayor and defeat the invading enemy. I am willing to go out of the city and bring the heads of the rebels to you. One by one, the leaders expressed their opinions. Ling Guanru smiled and nodded. At least it seemed that everyone was working together. As for how many were sincere, he certainly knew. He himself was more inclined to defend the city. Right now, what he relies on most is naturally his 1,000 guards. If they defend with all their strength, he will not be afraid of the invading enemy at all. Lord Survival, My Shelter in Crocodile Territory. Author, Chi Wen. Chapter 254. But there were several leaders who took the initiative to ask for help. If he couldn't shrink back, wouldn't he look too timid? Ling Guanru was a little confused. He raised his eyes and looked at Niwu, and finally decided to let the main force defend the enemy outside the city gate. The first battle must be fought beautifully and the reputation of Nanshanji must be established. When making pre-war deployments, he had not thought about asking other town mayors for help. On the one hand, it was because he had absolute confidence that he could defeat Wangshuo, including gang members. There are more than 30,000 combatants in Nanshanji, 5 times as many as Wangshuo's troops, and they are still defending the city. He will never believe that such a war cannot be won. On the other hand, I also don't want to lose face and make people laugh. He must use a big victory to establish the reputation of Nanshanji. Okay, I appointed Udik as the commander-in-chief, responsible for defeating Wangshuo's troops, and appointed Niwu as the vanguard, commanding 200 guards. Utuk is Ling Guanru's direct unit. He is usually responsible for the security affairs of the entire Nanshanji. He is Ling Guanru's most trusted general. When Niwu heard that he was only given 200 guards, he felt a little disappointed, but his expression remained unchanged and he immediately accepted the order. Raduer also wanted to show off, with an eager look on his face. But Ling Guanru ignored him. After all, he only had so many troops. Udik took away 600 people. As the main force, there were only 200 people left to defend the city. There is really no extra manpower to allocate to others. There is no upper limit on the number of gang members who can participate in the battle, but they must all obey Udik's command. Soon, Nanshanji gathered 20,000 troops. At the same time, a large number of lords personally led their troops and marched towards Nanshanji from all directions. Many of them have a spectator mentality. If Nanshanji was defeated, they would rush in and rob it. If Wangshuo was defeated, they would beat up the drowned dog. Wangshuo learned all this news through his spies and smiled in his heart. In a plain area 10 miles away from Nanshanji, Wangshuo stationed his army, waiting for the arrival of Nanshanji's army. Wangshuo has cavalry, so the choice of battlefield is very critical. Yuduk did not want to confront Wang Shuo here, but Ni Wu insisted on rubbing Wang Shuo's spirit and chose to continue marching. Many people are paying attention to this battle. Both the players in the Dawei territory and the lords outside the Dawei territory are paying attention to this battle. After hearing the news in Wuan village where Fang Kai was located, Dong Fangling clamored that he must lead troops to support. After Dong Fangling was killed by Toad Brunei, he used resurrection props to randomly teleport to other places. After Fang Kai found Dong Fangling finally gave up the idea of looking for Wang Shuo immediately under the earnest persuasion of Su Qing and others. Fang Kai's trip had two purposes, one was to protect Dong Fangling, and the other was to establish a force in the Great Sephora territory. Dong Fangling also knew that Qingyang City was in a worrying situation and had to expand new territory. In order to take the overall situation into consideration, he could only stay with Fang Kai and build the territory together. But at this time, she couldn't sit still. "Fang Kai, I order you to lead troops to fight," he mumbled and yelled loudly. Fang Kai was reluctant in his heart, but he couldn't resist Dong Fangling, so he took 500 people and headed towards Nanshanji. But his Wuan village is still more than 100 kilometers away from Nanshanji, and the traveling speed along the way is not very fast. Dong Fangling could only worry.